Welcome to Salt Lake City, Utah for the opening round of the NIT tournament. It is a sea of red here inside the Huntsman Center for second-seeded Utah against Big West regular season champs, the UC Davis Aggies. The winner advances to face the winner of the LSU-Louisiana game in round number 2. LSU leads that one late, but it is a tight ball game. LSU by 1 in Baton Rouge. Steve Quist, Ben Braun with you from Salt Lake, where, Ben, this should be a great battle between two pretty terrific point guards.
Well, we're in for a treat tonight, Steve, and definitely Justin Bibbins and TJ Shorts drive their team's engine, so it'll be exciting to watch these two guys, these two dynamos, compete against each other and lead their respective teams.
This is two very good defensive teams as well. Each one of these teams leading in their respective conference in scoring defense this year. Both yield only 68 points per game. And another caveat to this is UC Davis also has 9 true road wins on the season. So, Ben, they're not going to be the least bit intimidated about playing in the Huntsman Center tonight.
Steve, that's getting it done. I can't remember the last time a team I had 9 road wins. That's a lot. And if you can get that done on the road, you can play against anybody.
And one of those wins was against a Pac-12 team in Washington State in Pullman. That actually turned around Washington State's season.
And they almost beat Washington at Washington, so that was almost a sweep.
There's the starting 5 for UC Davis, who's looking for a 10th true road win of the season. They've got the opening possession. Here's the lightning quick TJ Shorts. He wears number 0 and a terrific point guard. And we've got a travel and a turnover against UC Davis on their opening possession.
Well, you can see Utah, and they worked on this in practice today, Steve. They really are playing position defense. They respect the ability of UC Davis getting to the paint, so they're playing great position defense and cause the travel.
Starting 5 for Utah: Bibbins, Van Dyke, Collette, Rawson, who had a great senior season, and Beeler, who can make some threes. Beeler's going to take a 3 from the new international line and misfire on his first field goal attempt.
It'll be interesting to see how teams react. So far, the games I've seen, teams aren't looking at that three-point line any differently. They're letting it go. Players have range this year. I think that's a rule that might end up sticking.
Yeah, we mentioned that because there's some experimental rules, 4 of them being used in the NIT this year, and we'll get to that as we get deeper into this broadcast. Misfiring there is Garrison Good. And here come the Utes back the other way, and we have a foul. And let's establish those experimental rules for you, because it's a big deal here. And of course, we're playing 4 quarters, 4 10-minute quarters. That'll be different.
As the women do.
As the women do, yep. The lane's going to widen from 12 feet to the NBA 16 feet. 3-point line moved back to the international FIBA line, 1 foot 8 inches. So now it's 22 feet, 1.75 inches. Shot clock's going to reset to 20 seconds, not 30 seconds after an offensive rebound.
Right. I like the new rules, Steve. I think you'll see some of these stick. I really do.
Siler Schneider got called for the UC Davis foul right before we gave you those experimental rules. And one other 2 free throws shot after the 5th foul of each quarter.
Right. That's great. You know what? And Jim Les just had one of his players take a charge. Not surprising from Coach Les, who's now in his 7th season. Does a great job, Steve. He's really turned that program around at UC Davis.
Offensive foul on Van Dyke. That's his first. Turnover number 1 for Utah, and a basket from the outside. A.J. John, a 3 from beyond the international line. We finally seen one, Coach.
I told you they don't care much about that line change. You put a line down, players will shoot the 3. Not going to make a difference in my book.
Team leading 43rd three-pointer of the season for the Pepperdine transfer, A.J. John. And the Big West regular season champs out to a 3-0 lead. Bibbins, the equalizer, is off the mark. And the rebound to Michael Anyabalu. Here comes Davis. They're pretty good at turning teams over, too. 19th in the nation, and Collette with a block of Schneider as he looked for the easy one off the window.
That's an amazing number, and Larry Christovia talked about that. Watch the replay here. There's a drive to the basket and then reject by David Collette. So you see it again. Avoids contact with the body, as all great shot blockers do, and blocked it cleanly.
Collette had a nice season. 2nd team all Pac-12. Davis turns it over. Here's Bibbins, the former Big West player at Long Beach State. And he's got the bucket for Utah, their first of the night.
Well, watch those 2 point guards, Steve. They will definitely make a difference for their team. They're really dynamic. Great ball handlers, great passes, as you just saw.
Yeah.
Look at the dish.
Shorts with the dive inside to Garrison Good, who's just a grinder down low, and he's got a bucket for the Aggies.
Well, if you're a young player, you ought to pay attention to these 2 guards. They have their head up. They see the floor, and they're very unselfish, but they can score.
Shorts with his first assist. That puts him 7 away from the single-season Division I record at Davis, and it's good on the other end. Well, check it. Schneider, rather. Beg your pardon.
You see what happens if Utah turns it over, and Coach Krasowiak and his staff talked about this. You cannot turn the ball over against this Aggie squad. They're going to force you into turnovers, and you cannot have those lead to baskets.
5-point advantage for Davis. Here's Beeler, the 3 off the mark. Shorts has the rebound. And Shorts, good little Euro step in there, but he can't finish. Able to finish is John. He got the offensive rebound, the second chance bucket, and Larry Kraskowiak needs a quick timeout. His Utes are down 7.
Not the start you want, Steve, but you know, we can take a look at what's going on here for UC Davis and why they're enjoying this 9-2 lead. They've got now defensively. Let's watch it again. Here's the play. Colette did not secure the ball with 2 hands, and they come back and convert in a hurry. Watch the pass, the finish, and the conversion. And here's that Euro step, and it does everything but finish. But look at the alert play of his teammate who goes down and gets the offensive putback. That's just a great hustle play. Don't assume that your players, your teammates are going to make a shot, play every shot as if it's a miss. But now Coach Krasowiak is talking about defensively what he wants to do and offensively taking care of the ball.
Yep. Now Utah had a long shoot around today. And I mean, they used all of their 90 minutes, and the point of emphasis was the fact that the Aggies are 19th in the nation in turning teams over. We're talking about all NCAA. Got to protect the basketball, and Utah has given up 2 turnovers early, which has led to 5 points for Davis.
Well, generally, Utah's a pretty good team at handling pressure. And of course, you have Justin Bibbins, and you're going to handle most pressure. But when the ball gets out of his hands, now they've got to take care of the basketball, and UC Davis will attempt to get the ball out of Bibbins' hands. They did the last time, trapping ball screens.
You saw that body of work for UC Davis. They're the 7th seed coming in. It's their 3rd postseason appearance in the last 4 years. They were in the NCAA tournament last year as a 16 seed. They won a game. Utah almost turns it over a 3rd time, out to Rawson, and Rawson off the mark for a 3. And so now the Utes have missed every 3 that they've jacked up early on. As you look at Larry Kraskowiak, he very Wimp Sanderson-esque blazer that he's wearing.
Well, he's a different guy, I'll tell you, but he's a hell of a coach. He's done a great job at Utah. A lot of respect for Larry Kraskowiak and the job he and his staff have done in the Pac-12.
Utes are in the postseason for the 5th consecutive year, back-to-back NIT appearances. They lost in the opening round of the NIT here on this floor last year to Boise State. Bibbins feeds Rawson. And here is Bearfield for 3, and Rawson with the offensive rebound, can't finish, and got fouled underneath.
Well, see, that's what you have to do, and I'm sure Larry talked about that in the timeout. Hey, your shot's not falling. Make some hustle plays. Go to the offensive glass. You've got a height advantage, definitely over the UC Davis Aggies. So, by all means, get to the foul line and use your height advantage, and that's what they did. They crashed the offensive glass, and they're getting 2 free throws as a result.
Glad you talked about height advantage, because UC Davis is down a big man, and they have been for the better part of a month. Chima Monecki, senior from Australia, was averaging 18 points, almost 10 boards a game when he was suspended in early February for an incident at a team hotel down in Los Angeles. And so that really changed the dynamic for Jim Less's team.
Well, it did. They lost some games right away, but guess what? They were able to regroup. A credit to Jim Less and his staff, and win a very tough Big West Conference. So even without their best player at almost 18, almost 19 a game, they found a way to win the league. So a lot of respect for what they've done, not only this year in the league, but in general. They've really catapulted their program in the absence of their best player.
And it forced a couple of guys to step up. One would be TJ Shorts, the other would be the Pepperdine transfer AJ John. So guys got opportunities and made the most of those opportunities. I know it didn't get them to the NCAA tournament.
Now, the players will find a way. You give them an opportunity.
Wow, Schneider. Wow, he juked a very good defender in Justin Bibbins to find a shot right there.
And Schneider got off the schneid, Steve. He found a way. He took the contact or initiated, depending on which side of the ledger you're on, and he found a way to score. But really tough right now. You see Davis Aggies playing very tough basketball.
Aggies with a 7-point advantage. Rawson inside to Colette, and he turns it over.
Well, that's a great pinpoint pass. And that's exactly what they wanted to do in shoot-around today. They emphasize inside touches, and you can't get the ball any more inside than that. Just couldn't finish it, couldn't hold on. Colette's struggling a little bit. He'll take a break. He's recovering from an ankle injury, injured against Colorado, I believe, in the Pac-12 tournament. So he'll come back and get a rest and come back stronger.
Rawson's a great passer, too. For a big man, he averages almost 4 assists a game. Davis with an 11-4 lead. Quarter number 1, we're inside of 5 minutes to go. Schneider against Rawson, step back jumper, no good. Didn't even touch the iron. Trying to save it from going out of bounds was Colin Russell. It'll be Utah ball when we come back. Jim Less's squad, they own 9, count them, 9 true road wins, and they've got a 7-point lead here in the first quarter on the road tonight against Utah. Opening quarter of this NIT first round game, Utah's down 7, and Ben, I know they moved the 3-point line back to the international rules. Utah's 0 of 5 shooting threes, 1 of 7 from the floor. I'm not sure if the line stayed the same NCAA line that they'd be hitting their shots either.
Well, I don't think it's so much the line. Personally, Steve, I think it's a problem that Utah's having defensively in this game. They've gotten off. They've given up 8 points in the paint to UC Davis, and 7 of those have come off turnovers and putbacks. So that's been the focal point for Larry Kostoviak. He wants to talk about his team playing better defense, and their offense will come around. But when you're behind, sometimes you have to play catch up, and long shots don't fall. You get a little pressure.
LSU just won, so the winner of this game takes on the LSU Tigers. Now, if it's Utah, it's going to be Monday night here in the Huntsman Center. If UC Davis wins, they'll have to go on the road to take on LSU at a time and date to be determined. Rawson misses from the outside again. Offensive rebound. And Jace Johnson finally gets one of those second chance opportunities to fall.
And those are the baskets you want when you're struggling offensively. Anything you can do to get the ball back off the glass, tallest player on the floor, offensive rebound and put back.
It's already their 4th offensive rebound here this opening quarter, and they have 4 points. Orel Hennings, the senior, the junior college transfer, is now in to run the point briefly for UC Davis.
Well, here's your bracket. Yeah, it's St. Mary's. I thought got off to a great start last night. They just really pounded Southeast Louisiana, and Southeast Louisiana is a pretty good team, but boy, having to face St. Mary's, they got a little bug up from not making the NCAA, and they were ready to play.
The Gales will be at home either against Boise State or Washington. Boise State, the higher seed, the 4, is on the road against Washington because of the NCAA tournament that they're hosting at their arena. So they've got a conflict, they have to go on the road. 5-point game. UC Davis, Big West regular season champs, had a 7-point lead a moment ago. This is Cedric Bearfield, 10 to shoot. Bearfield's a junior, an SMU transfer. And Bearfield with the floater, that one almost off the top of the backboard, for goodness sakes.
Well, give UC Davis credit, Steve. They're playing great defense down to the shot clock, and generally Utah gets awfully good looks to the basket. The Aggies very stingy defensively.
Well, as we had mentioned, we led right off the top. We did not bury the lead. This is 2 very good defensive teams, and for Davis, they only give up 68 points per game. And the same can be said about Utah. They led the Pac-12 in scoring defense. Wide open is Mooney. There wasn't a guy even on the weak side of the floor against Joe Mooney.
And he had to think about it. He couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
I think the surprise and shock led to the miss. He looked at the ball, spun it in his hands.
Davis turns it over. A.J. John across from us. Stepped out of bounds right in front of the Utah bench.
And Jim Les is telling his player Mooney, just, hey, don't think about it, shoot it. You know, don't worry if they missed an assignment.
Utah 2 of 11 from the floor. They've missed all 6 of their 3-pointers. And the line has been moved back almost 2 feet. Playing the FIBA international rules. This time they go inside to Johnson, and Johnson's got another bucket.
Well, no mistake where the ball wants to go at this junction of the game. There's going to be a post touch almost every possession down the floor.
How about this? Jace Johnson off the bench is the leading scorer for Utah with 4. He averages 5 points, 5 rebounds a game. A Pac-12 all-academic team member this year. They've got a couple of them, him and David Colette. And that's an air ball. That's out of John's hand in the corner. Bibbins back the other way, pushing the tempo. Bibbins can't get it to go. And a foul. I think they're going to get Jace Johnson. Offensive foul for Utah.
Well, I know Larry Custodia not happy about the call, but Steve, I don't mind those calls once in a while. When you're struggling, go make some offensive plays, and if you have to get an over the back once in a while, stay aggressive. That's what's gotten them back in this game, and they've got enough big guys on Utah. They've got to use their depth, so stay aggressive. I like this aggressiveness. Role players and bench players, I would tell them use all their fouls. Don't be stingy.
TJ Short still on the bench for UC Davis here in this opening quarter. Schneider sealed off baseline. Onyebalu buries the jumper from the outside. That's a two, a deep two.
Well, they're doing a good job of attacking the free throw line area, and that's an area a lot of players don't really attack as much as they should, because that's that mid-range shot. A lot of coaches don't believe in the mid-range. They want three-point shots or inside shots, but that mid-range area is a pretty lethal area.
Bibbins through traffic with a dish, and A.J. John went in for the block of Donnie Tillman and got called for the foul.
Well, that was a statement block. If you can see this, he could have made that block a lot easier, but he wanted to put some emphasis on it and say, not here. Here it is. It's a heck of a play, but I think he could have gone up there really less aggressively and gotten a clean block, but I think he wanted Utah to think about it next time coming in.
So the Pepperdine transfer called for his first foul. It sends Donnie Tillman, a freshman from Detroit, Michigan, but played his high school basketball at Finlay Prep in Las Vegas. Had a solid freshman year, 8 points, 4.5 rebounds a game. Good role player for Larry Kraskowiak's Utah Utes. Can't convert the second one. It's a 4-point advantage for UC Davis. Utah has never led here in the opening quarter of this NIT first round game. Schneider got the handoff. Schneider inside. John got position on his Utah defender, and then Johnson blocked it out of there. Return to sender. He had position on Bearfield originally. And well, foul on the other end. That's going to be the second here on John.
Let's watch the box, Steve. Here, this is the interior pass, and first time either lost the ball or was contact, and that's twice in the same possession. They had the ball point blank at the basket. Jim Les wants him to take it up strong and then obviously avoid the fouls on the other end. 2 fouls in the first quarter. That's going to now force the Aggies to sit one of their big players.
Bibbins here at the free throw line. Yeah, John had position on Cedric Bearfield there and got the mismatch he wanted. He lost the handle, and then Johnson came out of nowhere to block it.
Well, how many times has that happened, Steve, you've seen where you haven't gotten the call on one end and you come back and you're upset and you get the call on the other because out of frustration? You got to let those calls go and just reload and play defense. So many times players become emotional, and now he has to sit on the bench.
Shorts is sitting over there on the bench. He picked up 2 quick fouls. We should mention that. 2 fouls for Shorts without scoring in this opening quarter. He played 4 minutes. Now I wonder when you bring him back here, as Hennings drives in and scores just like Shorts normally would do.
Maybe you don't. If that's going to happen, that's a pretty good. You let your substitute players play, and you certainly ride them to the end of the quarter. But this timing now is going to be such that you have more quarters and more stoppages of play. So you're going to be able to rest players and give them some relief from foul trouble.
That is a big loss for UC Davis, and still they've got a 4-point advantage, and they're able to turn over Utah one more time. All right, the 4th turnover of the ball game for Utah, and it's Hennings again, having to do the heavy lifting now that Shorts is out.
And guess what? You play behind TJ Shorts, you get good in a hurry because he's playing against one of the best in the country.
Only 1 second to go in the quarter, and getting the shot off was Colby Caldwell. And another missed 3 for Utah in this opening quarter. They missed 7 3-point attempts in the first quarter of play. They want to put that one away. Well, Davis has the Big West Player of the Season in foul trouble, yet after the first 10 minutes of basketball here in this NIT opening round game, they've got a 6-point lead over Utah. With the Utah Jazz finest taking in this opening round of the NIT tournament. Donovan Mitchell, Royce O'Neal for a Jazz team Ben Braun that has won 19 of their last 21 games. They're like the hottest thing going in the West.
And that's what you want to do this time of the year, is start getting into your groove. And that's dangerous because if teams are playing that hot, it's hard to slow them down. Quinn Snyder doing a heck of a job with the Utah Jazz.
He might win Coach of the Year in the NBA. After one quarter of this NIT first round game here, UC Davis leads Utah by 6. The Aggies up 6 despite the Big West Player of the Year on the bench for 6 of the 10 minutes in the opening quarter with 2 fouls. Good extra passing, and Tyler Rawson with a dunk.
Well, that was a box and one on Justin Bibbins, and you can see they didn't waste any time going right inside. If they were going to take away their best perimeter player, they went right to the block.
Short still on the bench here for Jim Less's Aggies team. I guess if you continue to lead, and you do by 4, no sense in putting him in, and Hennings has done a nice job in his place. Hennings had 4 points in 6 minutes on the floor. Inside, Colin Russell couldn't finish. Hennings has the offensive rebound, which would reset the shot clock to 20 seconds with our new experimental rules.
There's that interior passing. Great give and go. That's what you want to do. You feed the post and you dive. You dive to the basket on any double team.
Davis has it, 16 to shoot. Schneider against Rawson. Good crossover, and Rawson just set him up for the big swat. Back in transition, here come the Utes. Rawson puts it on the floor. Good pass to Collette, who's quickly doubled, and he turns it over.
That's their game plan, and Larry Kasoya knew that because they said they're going to double you on the baseline. You got to give it up.
Again, Davis 19th in the nation in forcing turnovers. And here's Bibbins back the other way, and a reaching foul on Hennings.
That's a good foul, Steve, because that's about to be 2 the other way. But let's take a look at Utah's resume and what they've done this season.
The 2 seed, 5th straight postseason appearance, 19-11 overall. They finished the regular season with an 11-7 Pac-12 record, which was good enough for a 3rd place tie with UCLA and Stanford. And this from a team that was picked to finish 7th, for goodness sakes. They drew the 3 seed in the Pac-12 tournament, but lost to 6-seeded Oregon in the quarterfinals. Did close the season, though, winning 6 of their last 8, so they were in Joe Lunardi's discussion there toward the end of the year. Good pass. Rawson, and Tillman is fouled as he tried to put it up on the baseline.
Well, I've been impressed with UC Davis's defense. They've been in good position. They've just got to avoid fouls. And, you know, the idea is if you're going to be in good position, hold your position. Don't lose the battle of position and then come up with the foul. The foul takes the offense off the hook. You bail the offense out.
Already the 17th foul for Davis as we play in the 2nd quarter. Again, we play 4 10-minute quarters.
Yeah, that's going to be a difference. And, you know, one more thought, Steve, on the fouls. You know, Larry Kostoviak talks about not fouling his pitchers, not throwing balls, throwing strikes. And what he means by that is don't hurt yourself by fouling. And now UC Davis is struggling in that same thing. You want to avoid playing with fouls if you can. Be aggressive, but not foul.
2-point game. Davis with it. Schneider drives in. Boy, he's got no fear. He's been blocked a couple of times, and that time over the trees, it's a default.
Well, he does a great job. Their team does a good job of setting baseline screens, and he comes barreling off those baseline screens, and they curl to the basket, which means they come off tight off the screen, and the defenders behind them on their hips, so they go right to the rim.
Half dozen for Schneider, who averages 14 points per game. Collette, and Collette looking like a point guard going down the expanded lane.
Looked like a quarterback. That was the old Statue of Liberty and fake, and it was a drop, step, and go, but he's a very crafty player. No surprise there.
Schneider through traffic, and that time he turns it over. This time down the floor, Utah has an opportunity to equalize. Won't say they're going to take the lead with a 3 because they're 0 for 7 shooting threes. And wow, a steal. That's a good one by Onyebalu.
Great block-to-block coverage. That's where you want to be on double teams. Cover the opposite block. And he was right there. That's where the ball went, and he was there.
Onyebalu was on the ball right there. Hennings got a screen up high. And Hennings with a little Euro step of his own doesn't get called for the travel. It's out of bounds. Utah ball. And that brings us to our first break of this 2nd quarter. 6:59 to go. A good start to the 2nd quarter for the Utah Utes. who've never led in this game. They're within 2 of the Big West regular season champs. Steve Quist, Ben Braun back with you here at the Huntsman Center in Utah, where UC Davis leads Utah by 2 in this opening round game of the NIT. We're in the second quarter. Davis has been up by as many as 7 against a Utah team I thought was pretty engaged in practice, like really wanted to be in this NIT, you know, unlike what we saw out of, I thought, USC last night.
Well, never underestimate the power of your opponents, Steve. And you see Davis really excited to be here, but, you know, still without a 3. Obviously, Utah's struggling, not being able to knock down shots, but they have gotten to the line. They pounded the ball inside, and it's paid dividends.
Looking inside again for Collette. He's doubled, passes out of it. Bibbins, and that 3 off the mark. They're 0 of 8 shooting 3s.
Well, that's the idea. You go inside, you get the double team, and you pass the ball on the perimeter, hopefully for open shots.
Look who's back in there. TJ Shorts, the second. And with the left hand, can't get the floater to go down. He picked up 2 personal fouls 4 minutes into the opening quarter and sat until this media timeout. That's a good little matchup there by Shorts and Bibbins.
Interesting to see if Bibbins tries to take Shorts off the dribble, see if he can.
That time goes inside to Collette, and Collette called for an offensive foul, and it's good. Just the guy inside that takes the charge.
Well, Larry Christogia wants the call, said that he was there, and that he was not there. But if you look down at his feet, he was outside that arc, so the official's right on top of that play.
First on Collette, turnover number 4 for Utah. A.J. John's going to take the 3 and make it for Davis, stretching the lead back out to 5.
Well, you can see how important both Johns and T.J. Shorts are to this team. As soon as they got back in the lineup, they've extended the lead.
A.J.'s a very good 3-point shooter. Team leading 44 threes now. That's his second one of the game. Down low to Collette, and we've got a foul on the floor, and that's going to be the 3rd on A.J. John. How about that? With 5:25 to go in the second quarter.
That's significant, Steve, because it puts pressure on UC Davis. They've got to take their best player out up front, and not only does that hurt them defensively, it's going to hurt them offensively. He was giving them a lift from the perimeter, scoring-wise.
The Pepperdine transfer who tore his ACL at Pepperdine. It was bad enough they thought he'd never play again. He's a junior. He goes to the bench now for the last 5+ minutes of this second quarter. Interesting
Switch on a matchup here, getting Bibbins off of Shorts to avoid foul trouble.
That's going to stay with the Utes. Last touch by Garrison Good, who's got some good size. 6'7".
He's a strong player, very aggressive.
He'll be back next year. They don't lose a lot of guys next year, and they're going to add a couple of red shirts and a St. Mary's transfer and a St. Louis transfer. How about that? The natives getting restless here with that call against Utah.
Well, the fans here can get restless, Steve, as we know. And now there's a technical foul.
Yep.
Larry Christoviak is going to go out on the court to make his point. He's got to be careful or he's going to get tossed from this game. But he wants his point to come across. And
still going over the official. This was not a foul. This was a turnover.
And guess what? He has been tossed out of the game. 2 technical fouls, Steve, is an automatic ejection. And he, as in the movie Hoosiers, turned to his assistant coaches and said, take me home, take it home.
Where's Shooter when you need him?
Well,
look at it, and Larry won't go to the locker room, right? He's getting a standing ovation. He was halfway to the locker room, and now he's like, you know what? I'm going to get my money's worth. He's going all Billy Martin on us here.
He's a tough guy, and he's really a hard disciplinarian. He fights for what he believes in, and he's not a happy camper, that's for sure. It was so funny, Steve, we see coaches off the floor, and they're pretty jovial, but you put a coach on the floor in the heat of battle, and there's nothing jovial when you're doing battle.
I would assume Andy Hill is going to run the team here the rest of the way out. Double technicals on Larry Christoviak, and he has been disqualified from this game.
Well, Tommy Connor's going to take over, who's their associate coach, but Andy Hill will certainly have a lot to do with this. You know, these assistant coaches have been through there. They really do a lot of things in the shoot-around. They run film sessions. They've handled the reins before. This is not their first rodeo. But very emotional time. But guess what, Steve? We've got the fans back in this game. And so maybe Larry, there's a method to his madness because the fans are into this game now. They're in here big time.
That was Tommy Connor you just saw there. He had the scout for this game. He was running the shoot-around. So Larry is out and won't be back here. While we were sorting that out, Shorts went to the free throw line, made 4 consecutive free throws. Now he got called for an offensive foul, and that's his third here with 4:51 to go.
And that's significant. You know, he had an opportunity from the dead corner, and I believe he might pick up a technical. Guess what that means, Steve? If he picks up the technical, that's his 4th foul.
Oh, my goodness, compounding the problem here. Let's see.
That's a foul. That's an offensive foul. And then on the way out, I believe he picked up another foul. Let's see if they gave him a technical.
I think they said it was a
delay of game.
Warning, a delay of game.
Well,
yep, so it was not.
That's a good break because 4 fouls would have been disaster for the Aggies.
So how about Shorts? All he gets to do is log 9 minutes in the first half of this basketball game. And Bibbins is fouled on the other end, this time by the big. That's on Onyebalu.
Well, Steve, you asked the question earlier, do you think this game means something to these two teams and these two coaches? I think we got our answer.
Yeah, we did.
It sure does. They're intense, and I think these teams and these coaches, these players, they want to extend their season. I think everybody at this stage, if you're a competitor, you want to keep playing in March.
Here's Bibbins at the free throw line. And there's Tommy Connor taking over now, as Larry Kraskowiak just had back-to-back technicals, arguing a Utah turnover here in the second quarter. And so he's gone.
Well, he ran out on the floor. That's an automatic technical, and then he continued to argue and got called for the second. But, you know, he's a veteran coach, and he had a word with the veteran officials. I think he got his point across at his expense.
It was interesting. I was talking to the officials before the ball game. I'm like, you guys happy not to be seeing Bobby Hurley? And they got a little Hurley there. Onyebalu with a big bucket, a 3. He's 44% shooter from out there. Former walk-on as a freshman. He'll be one of 3 departing seniors as Davis will reload coming off their automatic qualification for this tournament as the Big West regular season champs at 22-10 overall. And Bearfield is fouled on the drive.
Steve, you can see the strategy from the Utes. They want to drive the ball in every opportunity because they want to continue to put pressure on UC Davis and try to build up the fouls. If they can build up fouls, they can get into the bonus and put key players on the bench.
Onyebalu just picked up his second. There are Shorts and John, 2 starters for goodness sakes, on the UC Davis bench with 3 personal fouls apiece. And Onyebalu, who's one of the 5 starters, has 2. So UC Davis going to have to go deep into Jim Less's bench. The former Utah Jazz, he was telling us for the ball game, he played for the Jazz for a season and a half in the late 80s when Malone and Stockton was coming up. He was John Stockton's backup, and he told us a story that every time John Stockton went out, he came in, the fans would boo him.
Well, they weren't used to John Stockton
that
going
was the
out.
home fans, by the way.
Yeah, you going out, and they didn't want to see him out off the floor, and Jimmy was a great player, but you play behind John Stockton, that's like, you know, nobody knows who you are. So that is a pretty funny story.
Yeah, we got a good chuckle out of it. He understood. He was like, look, John can't play all 48 minutes, folks. I got to give him a breather.
Jim from a very talented basketball family. We'll get into that later.
Mooney steps into it, too, and hits it. Hey, if they knock down their jumpers, it's not going to matter if A.J. John and T.J. Shorts is on the bench. They've opened up an 11-point lead.
Well, they have. And remember, this Aggie team has faced adversity before. It's not like they're a stranger to adversity.
If they win, they've got to go to LSU. If Utah wins, they'll host LSU in a second-round game. Rawson, another missed 3. They're 0 of 9, and you can tell what call the officials just made.
The fans are giving you their feedback, whether we ask for it or not. But you can see it. Here's the missed shot, and they said it went off the foot, I believe, of David Collette. And I think it did.
Only the lower bowl is open tonight. Up top, they've got the big curtains. And so this crowd's right on top of the players here tonight. Here's good. That's a nice move on Rawson. Offensive rebound, and trying to save it from going out of bounds was Russell. He turns it over. Bibbins. Beeler, will they finally knock down a three? They most certainly will.
We'll give Justin Bibbins big props on that. He got his defender, caused help defense, and found Beeler in the corner. Watch the play. Here it is. There's the penetration, the dish, and Beeler, perfect from the line. 3-point play counted.
Well, the lead for Davis is 8 here, this NIT opening round game at the Huntsman Center. Utah was down 11 a moment ago, but finally it took 10 chances, but they finally got a 3 to go down out of the hands of Beeler before the timeout. So an 8-point game, but Davis has the basketball.
And here's the zone defense employed by Utah. Something, again, they worked on in shoot-around.
So the story of this one, Utah can't make a shot, and Davis has 2 starters in foul trouble. And that's going to be too many steps there for Arel Hennings to travel.
Well, I like the defense. They started out 2-3, matched up, and then they come back and they play man-to-man out of their matchup zone. Great call by associate coach Tommy Connor, and also something that Coach Kraskowiak worked on in practice. So that's some staple of their game. They'll play a matchup to man.
And Coach Kraskowiak has been tossed out of this game here in the second quarter, getting a double technical foul. Beeler, back-to-back threes are good. Here come the Utes.
Well, Steve, I like the ability of a team to go back to a guy with a hot hand. That's just smart basketball. He just gave you a 3 from the corner. They found him again.
And the zone slowing down Davis. They've had to make some adjustments.
Well, they'll match to a guy in their area. They'll play man-to-man on the ball, and everybody else will pretty much be in the lane. There's another turnover.
Bearfield just swiped it away from Schneider. Why not? Beeler 3 for 3. No. Rebound good.
Good look. That almost narrowed the gap again, but I like the energy on Utah. They're playing. They're going to play and match up initially. You see Bibbins staying at the top. He's going to stay with, if he can, and kick off cutters. He'll play a new guy at the top, and they're just sag in. They're going to try to play, but they're going to go through with their shooters.
Davis has Rogers print up into the ball game. Here's a shot by Joe Mooney, and Mooney knocks down the mid-range jumper.
That's a good-looking shot by Joe Mooney. The sophomore from Waukanda, Illinois.
Averages 6 points a game. Their first guard off the bench has made 2 field goals here in this first half. We can still call it a half, right? Even though we're playing 2 quarters?
All right. We got it. We got the ability.
Bearfield. Yep. Wow, they're starting to turn it on here in the latter part of the second quarter.
You see, there's something about that left corner. All their shots have come from that left dead corner or mid-post extended.
Now it is a 4-point game. Schneider straight away. No. And rebound Bearfield. And Bearfield throws it up, and it's short, and we go to the half with UC Davis up 4 points, but with 2 starters, including the Big West Conference Player of the Year and the newcomer of the year in the conference, in foul trouble. And a break here at half. We'll be back to the Huntsman Center for all the halftime festivities. UC Davis 33, Utah 29. The Aggies are up as much as 11 in the first half and have never trailed in the game. Well, the Big West Conference regular season champs, seeded 7th here in the NIT, lead on the road against Utah, who finished 3rd in the Pac-12. 33-29 Aggies over the Utah Utes. As a matter of fact, UC Davis has not trailed in the first half of this basketball game. They were up by as many as 11 points. Back alongside Ben Braun, I'm Steve Quist. Thanks for making us part of your night here in the opening round of the NIT. The winner of this game getting LSU. If it's Davis, they'll have to travel to Baton Rouge. If it's Utah, then LSU comes here. Your thoughts? I mean, Davis has been pretty impressive, especially with all the foul trouble they've had.
Well, they have. I think defensively, they've played one of their better games of the year, Steve. They've done a good job of shutting off angles to the basket. They haven't given any post-ups early. They've been doubling teaming the post, which has been huge. And they've done a good job of challenging shooters. Utah only has shot, they've made 3 3-pointers all game. So defensively, it's been a really, I think, a great opportunity for the UC Davis Aggies.
And for Utah, I mean, it took a while. They took 10 threes. They missed their first 10 before they finally had a three-pointer there at the end. So they made 3 of their final 4 three-pointers of that half. Where would they be, for goodness sakes, without making those 3 crucial threes at the end of that second quarter?
Well, they'd be down double digits, and they're losing that battle. They're not knocking down shots, but they came back. Beeler was huge in giving them some shots. And Justin Bibbins, he's such a good player. But Justin Bibbins has been a pretty good player now with TJ Shorts on the bench. That was a good matchup, but Shorts on the bench with 3 fouls, A.J. John on the bench with 3 fouls. That's significant for the Aggies. They're going to have to come back, and those two have to play without further foul trouble.
I mean, Shorts, you look down here, and for goodness sakes, the kid has only played 6 minutes. He has not made a field goal. He's got 4 points. You're talking about the first ever Big West player to be named both the newcomer of the year and the player of the year. It was a first-team All-Big West selection, and still a 4-point lead for Davis, who's shooting a commendable 43% on the road here tonight.
Well, it'll be interesting to see the adjustments that both teams make, after halftime. These are 2 great coaches, and again, we should mention to our viewers that Coach Larry Kraskowiak, not in the game, picked up 2 fouls, 2 technical fouls, which is automatic ejection. So with their coach not here, this is an emotional game, and you wondered, our teams into these games. The coaches and players in this game are into these games. Into this game. There's no question, Steve, that this has been a real emotional game. They want to extend their season.
Yeah, I think I pointed this out. I mean, Utah looked very engaged here during the shoot-around today. They want to be in this game, unlike maybe USC that we saw last night beat UNC Asheville in double overtime. But just, I don't know if it's Utah not shooting the basketball well or credit the Aggies' defense. You seem to think that the Aggies' defense, which was the best in the Big West, is translating tonight.
I think they were very stingy. They've only given up 29 points, so they're on cue to hold them to their average or less. But, Utah plays awfully good defense, too, so this game's going to come down to a battle on which team can really hold their ground defensively and who's going to make surges. The crowd here has been pretty good. They've gotten back in the game. You can see how raucous it got here. And UC Davis, who's won 9 road games this year, which is an incredible amount of games, they're going to have to prove themselves once again on the road.
And one of those road wins was against a Pac-12 team back in December against a Washington State team, who, if my memory serves me correctly, was 6-0 when Davis finally knocked them off their perch. A.J. John, who's in foul trouble, and the rest of the crew with a 4-point lead over UC Davis. UC Davis with a 4-point advantage over Utah, 33-29 here at the half. The Utes missed their first 10 threes before hitting 3 of their final 4 there after their coach got ejected from this basketball game, and that really kind of ignited the Utes, because we know Larry was into it, but his team really didn't seem into it, at least in the first quarter and a half.
Well, I don't know about they weren't into it, but what they weren't doing is making shots. And what happened directly after Coach Kraskowiak was thrown out of the game, his team made shots.
They did.
So you say what you want, that ignited the fans, ignited his team, and they're playing pretty well without their leader. But again, he's their leader, so it's a big loss, but we'll see how they respond in his absence.
Let's take a look at the first half highlights, and we'll start with Davis, who got out to a quick 7-0 lead behind A.J. John. He was making his threes.
Well, he sure was. He's a capable player. You can't give him open looks, but he's done a great job just going inside, outside. He's an aggressive player. Unfortunately, he picks up foul trouble, but he was a guy that kept his team not only in the game, but extended the lead.
And then, of course, Larry Kraskowiak, he was upset over this. This was a turnover for Utah. He thought it should have been maybe a foul on Russell or off of Russell. He goes onto the floor and gets tossed out of the ballgame.
Well, with a coach, and I've been in these shoes, it's never one call. It's not about one. It's usually accumulation. I think he has the share there for good measure. But coaches get upset, and it's really a conglomerate of things. But here you can see the three-pointers that bring them back in the game. Beeler from the corner. They find the high post, go back to the same point in the corner, and obviously they do a really good job. But they do a good job of softening up, getting the inside of the zone and going inside out.
Yeah, you just said zone, and it seemed to slow. Utah's zone seemed to slow down Davis a little bit at the end of the second quarter. You expect more of that in the second half?
I do. I think they're going to go back to the zone. We'll see what happens. But as we can hear now, the officials back on the court, they're getting warmly greeted, as they should be. But this is going to be a great second half. Don't go away. I'm excited to see the matchups.
All right, stay with us. When we come back, we'll take a look at the NIT bracket, which has been updated since we have taken the air here in Salt Lake. Back to the Huntsman Center after this. Welcome back to the Huntsman Center here on the campus of the University of Utah. Steve Quist, Ben Braun with you, taking a look at the St. Mary's portion of the NIT field in 32 teams, but in this bracket you have 8 teams, and the winner of this game is going to take on number 3 LSU. If it is Utah, we understand it's going to be in this building on Monday night. If it's UC Davis, it'll be in Baton Rouge. I'm not quite sure the date or times at that point. And of course, St. Mary's look like a pretty good team in their first game at home against Southeastern Louisiana.
Well, no stranger to the NIT. You got to perform whether you're at home or on the road. You're going to have to do both. You might get some home games, but if you get some road games, you're going to have to go and play those games. It's a long trip to get to the Garden, but it's worth it. You get there, it's a lot of fun.
So as we reset, the winner gets LSU in round number 2. Davis will have the basketball first. They never trailed in the first half despite all the foul trouble. Their largest lead was 11. Larry Kraskowiak, the head coach of the Utah Utes, got tossed in the second quarter for a double technical. Associate head coach Tommy Connor acting now as the head coach. And Davis in foul trouble with Shorts having 3, and A.J. John with 3 as well. And I see both of them back out on the floor to start this third quarter. And good pass inside. Good is fouled. And he'll get to go to the free throw line here to start the proceedings in the third quarter.
Utah employing the zone defense, Steve, and they're going back to the matchup at the end. They want to try to match the last 10 seconds of the shot clock. Did a good job defensively, except they didn't catch the cutter. That's been a very effective play for UC Davis. The give and the go. Give and the go to the basket.
Second on David Collette, sending Good to the free throw line. And Colin Russell is going to come in here quickly, and A.J. John is going to limp off. And the trainers will have to attend to him, so adding injury to insult here. 3 personals. He comes back on for, all of 19 seconds, and he's got to go right back out.
No, that was very short. Now let's see what happens with Utah. Do they go at T.J. Shorts, who's got two fouls? And there's the denial of the lead, something that Utah was working again on in practice, and coaches were talking about, do not be sloppy with your entry passes. They love to get out. They're one of the tops in the country at steals and turnovers, and they get out and they deny leads.
Half dozen for Garrison Good after the slam dunk off of the turnover. Points off of turnover, 16 for Davis. How about that? 16 points off of 9 Utah turnovers.
Well, that's been a big thing, and putbacks as well. So an adjustment that Utah has to make, but this has been a very stingy UC Davis defense.
Again, they led the Big West this year in scoring defense, only giving up 68 points a game, much like Utah led the Pac-12. So we expected a low-scoring game here tonight. Schneider for 3, no good, but kept alive there by Good. That will reset the shot clock to 20 seconds.
Yeah, that's a new rule, but that's the tip back. That's what offensive teams do. They go out and they get one hand on the ball and see if they can tip it back.
Both teams have 5 offensive rebounds in the game. Shorts did not make a field goal in the first half, and gives it off to Russell, and the Portland transfer has a bucket.
There's going to be a timeout, a very good call by Coach Tom Connor. He wants to talk to his troops to try to slow down that momentum. That's the second time this evening that UC Davis has gotten off to a very quick start to start the game, and also the start of the first half. We'll come back with Utah trailing UC Davis.
Digit lead for UC Davis. Their biggest of the game came with 3:29 to go in the second quarter. They were up 11, and that's when Utah flipped the switch and hit some threes. Got right back in the basketball game, but the Utes have gotten sloppy here to start out this third quarter of play.
Well, again, we can talk about two things. One, Utah getting a little sloppy, but also, UC Davis turning up the heat. They have done this all season long. Jim Les has been really good at getting his troops to go out there and play aggressively, and it's paying off. They're coming into this environment, and they've taken the crowd out so far, other than late in the first half. We'll see if Utah can get themselves going and get their crowd back in the game, because they've got a nice following, and they've been able to get back in transition and do some damage.
Utah, one of 5 Pac-12 teams in the NIT. USC won last night. Washington underway against Boise State as we speak. Oregon won yesterday. Stanford's playing BYU as we speak. And Utah here gets Beeler going. Right out of the same scenario, you get down double digits, Beeler to the rescue.
Well, he's done a great job, and his teammates have done a great job of finding him. But UC Davis went to the zone and then got burned by Mr. Beeler, who has burned them several times this evening.
He's the leading scorer in this basketball game either side with 9 points on 3 threes. Snyder, wow, right through Collette and Rawson, and finds a shot.
Well, where he found space, Steve, I don't know. I saw a sea of jerseys of Utah, and he pump fake left, pump fake right, stepped through, and found a way to get to the rim.
Snyder's a junior from Lansing, Kansas, an all Big West second-team selection this year after being named the Big West 6th man of the year last year. And another miss from the outside for Utah. Well, they missed their first 10 threes.
No, they did, and Utah's going to have to go back to their strategy of getting inside and getting to the foul line. They were very successful in their run first half.
The lead is 9 for Davis. 7 minutes to go in the third quarter. Snyder. Shorts is back out of the game. Hennings played admirably in his place in that first half at the point, and Good misses from the right side, and a foul on the open floor. They're going to get Russell. Cedric Bearfield will come back in for the Utes. Now a whistle blew. I think everyone's under the impression that this is a media timeout, but it should not be. It's the under 5 would be the media break. And of course, we're playing with these new rules, so this is the first time, the experimental rules. These teams really had a few days to figure it out.
And it looks like an international game, Steve.
Yeah.
Both teams are a little confused, but they'll get there, and they'll make the adjustments. But Utah's got to take care of the basketball. They've got to do a much better job.
Collette with a left hand gets it to roll off the fingers and in.
Well, he's got a little grin going and say, look, I'm going to get us going, and he will. David Collette's a very high percentage player, used to getting the ball to the basket.
Yeah, he's Utah's second leading scorer at almost 13 points a game, and that was just his second made field goal. He's got 4 points. Onyebalu slashing in and getting a bucket in the paint for Davis. And a reach-in foul.
Well, that's again a bait by Justin Bibbins. He was riding down the floor. You can see it. We'll come back and take a look at it. But Collette is really doing a good job. You can see him on that keep, that shoulder fake and keep, and he just got to the rim. But that's a very costly foul by T.J. Shorts.
That was on Hennings.
Oh, I'm sorry, it was on Hennings.
So it's just the second on Hennings.
On Hennings, that was it was a foul though that Justin Bibbins has made a living on, getting his opponents to foul. And the referees, if you can notice now, calling this game very closely.
Now, they just got Hennings for a third right here.
Yeah, and that's a break again that they're going on Hennings. But here's the foul. You can see it again.
If Jim Les can manage this thing with all the foul trouble the guys have had, he's my national coach of the year if they get out of here with a win today.
Yeah, he's done a great job. And both these coaches on these teams, these coaching staffs have do a great job.
Bibbins with a 3. He's got 9 now, his first made 3 of the game.
Well, he's such an unselfish player. You forget that he's shooting 45% from the three-point line and 85% from the free throw line. That's a guy that when he has to can take over a game.
All Pac-12 first-team selection and a former 2-time Big West selection. Quite familiar playing against UC Davis. That's out of bounds.
Now there's 2 players for Utah fighting over the ball, but give me 2 players fighting over the ball, then 2 players looking at each other saying, no, you take it, no, you take it. Both guys want it. They both get in there. That's okay with me. Great hustle.
So Hennings will trigger the inbound here. Coming up on 5.5 to go in this third quarter. Shorts is come back to the scores table, so he's coming in. So will Joe Mooney. Schneider, that would have been a deep 2. Here comes Bibbins to lead the transition back the other way for Utah. Gets it out corner, Barefield for 3 with Hennings closing, and A.J. John has the rebound.
They've had some good looks.
Bodies falling just to the left of us, but no call. Hennings is a junior college transfer senior playing in one of his final games at Davis, hoping that it's not his final game. And a foul. Beeler reaching in on John, trying to go for the steal. And that takes us to our break. UC Davis with a 6-point lead over Utah. The Utes have never led in this basketball game. And the man to my right, Ben Braun, knows a thing or two about playing in the NIT and winning it, for goodness sakes. Let's stroll down memory lane, 1999.
Wow, it seems like it was just yesterday, but I know it wasn't. That was a lot of fun, Steve. You know, we felt the sting not getting into the NCAA. We're disappointed, but we had to hurry up, decide we wanted to play in the postseason, so we made it all the way to the championship. We won it. I think we went to 4 NCAA tournaments after that. So the NIT is very valuable for coaches and players. I'm a big fan of the NIT.
You see the notable wins, though, so you kind of know what USC's going through, for goodness sakes. That year, you beat 3 top 10 teams and didn't get an NCAA.
No, and it was tough. And I talked with Andy Enfield, and I know he's disappointed. It hurts for his players.
Shorts. Wow, look at that basket there.
But it's tough. I'm always for inclusion, not exclusion. I think more teams should play in the tournament. That's just my opinion, and that way you take some of the subjectivity and the metrics out. Teams don't have controls and coaches over scheduling like they say you do. You don't, because certain teams just don't want to come and play you. You're just too good.
Tillman from the outside misfires. TJ Shorts on the other end made his first field goal of the game. The kid who averages 15 points a game, the first Big West player to be named both the newcomer of the year and the player of the year in the conference. Here's John playing with the 3 personals. Schneider finds the jumper, tries to laser beam it off the window and can't get it to go down.
Well, I like the big lineup causing UC Davis a little bit of problems underneath. Hard to go over the top of big guys.
Arthur Van Dyke, deep 3, another miss, another rebound for A.J. John.
Look at how many ball screens Utah has to defend. There's a ball screen every other pass, and you're going to have to negotiate those ball screens.
Here's Shorts. They call him a really tough kid. Look at that. With the left hand, can't get it to go down. Jace Johnson with a rebound.
Again, Shorts with 3. He's got to be careful not to pick up his 4th and go back to the bench. See if they attack him again. Here's the ball screen, and you've got Bibbins attacking.
Bibbins leaves it for Tillman, who ran into good and count it. Basket on the foul, good with the personal. And good work by Tillman, having a solid freshman year.
Well, Donnie Tillman, the freshman out of Detroit, you can see him take contact and get the ball to the rim. That's just a great play, and that really woke up his bench. And you can see he gets contact, he manages to keep the ball alive off the glass, has a chance for a 3-point play, narrow the gap.
Miss the free throw. The lead remains 6 for UC Davis.
Steve, like the philosophy of Utah going to the glass, not depending on a 3-point shot when the shots really aren't falling very much. You've got to try to attack, make UC Davis pay on the defensive end.
Shorts, crossover dribble, head fake, nothing there. Out to John, who will gladly take the assist, but John bangs it off the back of the rim. Bibbins pushing it the other way. And he shook his defender Schneider and made it from just inside the free throw line.
That's a tough matchup for Schneider, but TJ Shorts can ill afford to guard Bibbins because he doesn't want to pick up a foul, so that's a key factor in this game.
Bibbins the first on either side in double figures with 11. He averages almost 15 points a game. The lead is down to 4. Davis has had double-digit leads in both the first half and the second half. Shorts with 3 to shoot. Left-handed 3 on the way. No. And the rebound cleared by Tillman. Bearfield runs the baseline. And with a reverse lay-in. 2-point game.
How about Cedric Bearfield on the baseline take? That's a great play, going to cause UC Davis to call timeout.
The lead is 2 for the Aggies here with 1:43 to go in the third. Jim Les is hot. Remember, Larry Kristoviak has already been tossed out of the game, the Utah head coach, in the second quarter for double tees.
Well, Steve, I've said this earlier, and I'll say it again. If you don't think this game means something to these coaches or these players, look again. These teams really want to be here, but let's look at Cedric Bearfield and what he means to this team. He's got the ball on the baseline. He takes the ball and he's able to get by on the baseline. That's a quick move, explosive move to the basket. And here's the timeout. You can see after the timeout that
Shorts and Bibbins got into it.
Well, Jim Les didn't like the fact that Bibbins was reaching in and causing a little body contact. That's just a little bit of playmanship, showmanship, and officials, are going to have to get there and sort it out. But this game's got some an emotional edge to it.
Again, the winner gets LSU. If it's Davis, they'll have to travel to Baton Rouge. If Utah somehow rallies to win, and again, this game has never been tied, and Utah has never led. But if they win, they'll host LSU on Monday night.
It's interesting. You try not to think about your next game, and that's one of the things that you have to caution your team. I had to do that with my team because they start thinking, hey, if we win this game, we're at home, or hey, if we win this game, we have to go on the road. You don't want to think about where you play. Let's just talk about the team you're playing. You got your hands full with Davis if you're Utah, and you got your hands full with Utah if you're Davis. Get by this game. Let the game afterwards take care of itself, but you have to concentrate on the game at hand. You cannot advance if you don't take care of business.
Davis was the automatic qualifier to the Big West as the regular season champs. Went 12-4 in conference play. Upset Irvine on the road on the final day of the regular season to win the regular season championship as John buries a clutch 3.
Well, how valuable has he been in this game? He's knocked down every big three-pointer just when you thought Utah was going to catch up. There's John hitting the shot from the outside, nailing a 3.
And he didn't do that for Marty Wilson at Pepperdine. He didn't get a lot of opportunities as that pass is slung inside to Collette, who's got the bucket.
No surprise when they need a basket where they go. That's a baseline screen, an excellent play, and a screen for a layup underneath the basket. Great baseline screen.
Second assist of the game for Cedric Bearfield, the junior. Mooney wants to try the 3. Bibbins corrals the rebound. They could tie with a 3. Bibbins for the tie. No. Again, we've never been tied. Davis has never trailed. Shorts. Inside to John, lost the handle on it. Van Dyke came away with it. Final seconds of this third quarter. Bibbins, and he's fouled. Now, if that's on Shorts, that's going to be number 4, and it is. That's the 4th on the Big West Conference Player of the Year. He hasn't been on the floor to get into a rhythm yet, and I feel like it's cheating everyone in the building and the viewers.
That's unfortunate because when he picks up his 4th foul, he's got no choice in this game. With the lead, you have to put him on the bench. It's not like they're trailing, and hold on as long as you can, but that's a huge uphill battle now for UC Davis to see if they can hold on with their star destined for the bench.
And talk about a star. I love kids like this. He had only one offer out of Tustin High School in Orange County, California, and that was to Hope International University. It's an NAIA school, and if you've ever been to Fullerton, California, it's like 2 buildings right across the street from Cal State Fullerton. Goes the JUCO route, and here he is in winning Big West Player of the Year.
Well, give Jim Les credit. Here's a player that was undersized, made it to the NBA, played at Bradley on some great teams. He knows what it's about. It's your heart, not the size of your body.
All right, a one-point game. Arel Hennings is back into the point for Davis. Going to have to do a lot of heavy lifting here, and he's in foul trouble as well. Crossover, got a nice screen from John. Back out to AJ, puts it on the floor. Shoots over 2 defenders at the end of the third quarter. And momentum perhaps for Utah heading to the fourth.
Well, I like Utah's, their psyche here. They're able to get out and play with aggression. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. Love the fan support, love the game. Hold on to your seat. We've got a great one here, Steve.
Start of the fourth quarter here at the Huntsman Center in Salt Lake. Here's what the 2-seed Utah Utes and 7th-seeded UC Davis Aggies are playing for. An opportunity to take on the 3-seed LSU, who just advanced earlier tonight, grinding one out against Louisiana, although that was a one-point game late there. An 8-point win for LSU. If Utah wins, they'll host Monday night. If UC Davis wins, it's on the road to take on LSU in the next couple of days. And foul trouble here for UC Davis as we start the fourth. UC Davis by a point, although Utah has trailed the entire game. The Utes have it to start. They can get their first lead here. How long do you keep TJ Shorts on the bench if you're Jim Les?
As long as you can if the game's tight. If it starts getting away, you got to put him back in the game.
Tillman's defender fell down, and Utah has their first lead of the basketball game.
You can't panic with the 1-point lead, but I can guarantee you Jim Les will have him back in the game if this game starts to slip away from UC Davis.
We'll see if the Aggies can play from behind. Crowd of about 5,500 out of their feet. Mooney misfired, empty possession for Davis to start the fourth. Bibbins. Again, we're playing 4 10-minute quarters. Rawson puts it on the floor, kick out to Bearfield, and Bearfield missed it.
Great challenge.
And here come the Aggies, who, by the way, I found it fascinating. They have to stay as Van Dyke got called for the personal foul. He's not happy about it. Because the NIT, you know, it's a quick little turnaround. Davis, they couldn't find any hotel rooms for the team, so they're actually staying at an Airbnb, if you can believe that, here in Salt Lake. Well, like a 9-bedroom house.
And they've done team building before. That's Jim Les and his staff. You make lemons into lemonade, yeah. Steve. That's what they've done. And they're going to need to bond in this game because it's going to go down to, and they're going to have to make some big plays together.
Looking for a 10th true road win. Look who's back in. It's Shorts to Schneider for the 3. That looked good going out of his hands, but it came up short.
So much for my answer about holding him in, but you know, that's your best player, and they've got to get out there, not just offensively, but defensively.
Rawson, the extra pass to Tillman for the slam dunk. Rawson is a great passer. That's his 4th assist of the night. The lead is 3 for the Utes, their biggest of the night. Schneider. 9 to shoot. Good. Put it on the floor. Got called for an offensive foul. Oh, yeah, he's a great passer, and he takes charges on the other end. About as all-around a good kid as you can find.
It's a huge defensive possession for Utah. They needed to get a stop because every time Utah's managed to climb back in this game, UC Davis has answered the call. So that's a great defensive possession.
You see those two, you see these 2 guys in your picture right there? Bibbins and Rawson. They've combined for almost 300 assists on the season. Rawson only has 30 less assists on the year than Bibbins. Bibbins came in with 145 assists. Rawson had 115 assists, and he's got 4 more tonight.
That's a luxury when your big man can give you passes and give you plays from up top and see the floor the way he does.
Plus, he can stretch the floor. He's made 52 threes. Speaking of threes, Beeler tried to hit another one. That would have been his 4th had it gone down. Here's Shorts back the other way. In trouble, and he traveled. They trapped him right there in the corner. He couldn't get out of it.
Well, that's a good defensive play. That's 2 defensive possessions in a row, Steve, where Utah stepped up. And you're talking about Justin Bibbins, who's playing hard defensively. He's getting some help, but he's played all but 1 minute on the floor. They have not given him a break. And unfortunately, TJ Shorts has played only 12 minutes so far in this game because of foul trouble.
Davis has postseason experience, third postseason appearance in the last 4 years. They were in the NCAA first 4 last year, beat NC Central in Dayton, and then got sent to the Midwest and lost to Kansas. A couple of years ago, they got sent to Stanford in an NIT game and lost. Schneider, nope.
Well, Utah's getting some stops. It's all about stops. These are two fine defensive teams, but sometimes you say the game could come down to who has the ball last. It might come down to who can get the stop and who wants to make a stop. Utah's really playing defense.
Yeah, Davis is being shut out here in this fourth quarter, and that takes us to a break. Talk about the passing and admire the passing of the Utah Utes right here, with Rawson making the extra pass, Tillman the dunk, and the Utes here in the fourth quarter have a 3-point lead. Utah's defense pitching a shutout of UC Davis here in the fourth quarter, and as a result, they have their first lead of this NIT first round game, 51-48. Second straight NIT appearance for Utah. They're 14th overall, and they have an NIT championship banner here in the building. They defeated Kentucky way back in 1947 when NIT was the tournament. Rawson now, his defender fell down, made the extra pass, got it back from Collette, and slams it home.
Well, how about the bigs going big to big and finding each other on that play? That's just great interior passing over the shorter UC Davis squad.
6 for Rawson. It's a 6-0 run to start the fourth quarter for Utah, and now they're up 5. Shorts got a screen up high, playing with 4 fouls. Feeds it down to Russell, who's out of Folsom, and his shot goes up over the rim. Utah can add on more. Rawson, he can stretch it. Collette got the offensive rebound. Bibbins for 3, buries it. That just might do it.
Very confident shooter, Steve. That's a 45% three-point shooter, and you can't give him second looks. The offensive rebound really paying dividends for Utah. Reload.
The lead is 8. Utah has outscored Davis 9-0 here in this fourth quarter. Nearly, oh, it is a turnover. I thought Beeler might have touched that thing. I think Jim Les thinks the same. They might overturn this here. Yeah, they are going to overturn.
And here's the dunk. You just saw, watch the three-point shot. Justin Bibbins, you just can't give him that open look. He's been quiet, but if he needs to, he will always answer. Great three-point shooter. You crowd him, he'll drive you. So UC Davis was the team playing great defense to start this game. Now it's Utah turning the tide and having stop after stop, holding UC Davis scoreless so far in this quarter.
Shorts, and Collette blocked it, then knocked him down. There's going to be a foul. Now, do they call a technical as well? There's a common foul. There's going to be a technical as well. Officials will go over to the scores table. Oh, so Collette's going to pick up 2 on that, isn't he? The common and then the technical for screaming over Shorts when he stood over.
Well, that was the contact on the arm,
and then there's the
emphasis.
Well, that'll let a team right back in the game.
And Coach Connor's talking to him now just to say, look, guys, we fought so hard to get back in this game. Let's not give UC Davis any daylight.
Shorts just shot his 5th technical free throw of the night.
Well,
he had those 4 when Larry got bounced.
Well, think about this. TJ Shorts has been to the line 204 times this year, and he hasn't had many opportunities today to get to the line other than technical fouls. So, Utah's done a good job, but by the same token, he's been in foul trouble and hasn't been his usual self. He's always able to test the defense, probe, and get to the line. That's been a real plus for this team all year long, but it's been a challenge for him tonight, a struggle being in foul trouble.
So Collette did officially get the common foul and the technical to give him 4. And he goes to the bench. And Shorts converts another one. It's now a 6-point game after Utah was up 8 here. We thought they delivered the knockout punch. All the points for Davis in this quarter have come at the free throw line. They're being outscored 9-2 here in the fourth. Coming up on 5 to go here in the fourth. Ross, a nice move with a right hand over the top of A.J. John.
Well, that's a great move, going against a guy in a little bit of foul trouble, but just this point of the juncture of the game, really using his body to get off shots. Great individual move.
Rawson's got a half dozen with 7 rebounds and 4 assists. And here's Good, and he was able to finger roll it in. Good's having a nice evening. He's approaching double figures in points. He has 8. Rawson actually technically has 8. They just updated the score sheet now. 8 points, 7 rebounds, and 4 assists in 25 minutes. Bibbins for 3 straight away. Got it.
When in doubt, give the ball to Justin Bibbins. What a great performance tonight by the guard. All Pac-12 guard. Just really stinging UC Davis.
He has 19. Mooney. Nope. Beeler with a rebound. How about Utah missing their first 10 threes and have made 7 of their last 16?
Well, they've done that on the defensive end, Steve. They've really gotten stops. That always triggers your offense.
And a travel on Bibbins. That'll be just his second turnover of the basketball game.
Here's Justin Bibbins on the kick out. He gets his feet set, and he's just money from there. He's shooting a tad under 50% on the year from the three-point line, and you don't want to foul him because we mentioned he's 85 from the line, but he's been just money for this Utah Ute squad.
3 threes now gives him 85. He's 4 threes shy of a single season school record. So if they get a game against LSU here on Monday night, which it looks like they're gonna, he's got a chance to tie, perhaps break that record.
That's quite an accomplishment, but he's been a tremendous player. Had the pleasure of watching him all season in the Pac-12. Wow, does he do the job for his team.
I think if you're Jim Lesham, you're finally happy he transfers out of Long Beach State as a grad transfer, and then you get him in the opening round of the NIT.
How's that?
Bibbins, straight path, kick out. Van Dyke lost it out of bounds. Going to be Davis basketball, though Utah seems to have cleaned up the turnovers just a bit from the opening few moments of this game.
Well, that plagued them early, but they've done a much better job. But they've had the will to defend, sit in their stance, and play. Let's see if TJ Shorts can do what he's done all year long and battle his team back.
They need that 3. Mooney misfires again. He's really struggling with his shot. Mooney's missed all 5 of his 3-point attempts. Now Utah can slow it up here with a 9-point advantage inside of 3 minutes to go. Bibbins over the top, Tillman, one-on-one against Mooney. He's got a size advantage and draws contact. And that should take us to our under 3 break here of this fourth quarter. And what a fourth quarter it's been for Utah. They're knocking down their threes. The Utes have outscored Davis 14-4 in the fourth and lead it by 9. Second-seeded Utah by 9 here on their home floor. And it took a while for Utah to get going, but as the numbers indicate, oh, they're going now. And we were talking off air that, I mean, the NIT is really a different environment, a different dynamic, isn't it, than perhaps a late-season conference game?
Well, it is, Steve. And, you know, think about this. You've had senior night already, which is typically your last night playing on your home floor. That changes. Now it's not your last night. And the crowds are different. The venue even has changed. You go from having 12,600 averaging to 5, which is still a great crowd, but it's not your typical crowd. So the venue changes, and so it takes some of these home teams a little while to get going. And Utah certainly has got going, but it took them a long time. And maybe we might want to point out again that catalyst in the first half might have been Larry Piscoviak getting that technical and getting tossed, and now his team and the crowd got back into this game.
Tillman stretches out Utah's lead to 10, their biggest of the night. foul on Bibbins on the drive. 2:21 to go here in the fourth.
Well, if you're a basketball purist, you love seeing basketball in March, so I don't care where the venue, where it is. You enjoy extending your season. These teams really want to battle. They've been battling all night for the chance to advance.
Just the second team foul. You got to have 5 to send the team to the free throw line for 2. And here is Shorts. Onyebalu buries a big 3 there for Davis, which keeps him hanging around. It's an 8-point game.
Well, it's still a 3-possession game. Let's see if they can come back, but they got to be careful. You don't want to foul Justin Bibbins, who's golden from the line.
They're very good as Tillman is fouled there. Getting in, disrupting his cylinder is Mooney there. Still only the 3rd team foul, so it'll be awarded out of bounds. Utah's a very good free throw shooting team at 76% for the year. They're 82% here in this game. And again, there's no one-on-ones anymore.
No, that rule does change, but you're going to have to play the foul game at some point. There's just not enough time left. If you can't come up with a steal, turnover, you're going to have to foul.
Utah has not had a field goal now in about the last 2.5 minutes. Inside of 2 minutes to go here. The winner gets LSU in round 2. If it's the Utes, they'll host Monday night. Van Dyke with a knockdown punch just as the shot clock expired. And an offensive rebound. Rebound that will reset the shot clock to 20 seconds. And a foul right in front of us. And that's, you know, Onyebalu didn't do anything that you wouldn't expect a basketball guy to do late in the game. Fans don't like it. Bibbins doesn't like it. He's hot. Perhaps those two had history from the Big West the last 3 years.
Well, it was a hard foul. More of the issue is the hard foul, not the step over. The step over is kind of a pride thing. You don't want to be stepped over.
Well, they'll look at it here.
And you'll see that in the NBA. I remember LeBron James getting involved in a step over and on Steph Curry and all that. What you really don't want is to chance injury. And you know, it's okay. You can foul and take your foul. But, you know, it's a hard foul. There's no question. That was a pretty good bump. It was a foul up top and a little bit of a knee down below, and we're going to review that and see if that was excessive. If excessive, that will be, you'll see, that's a pretty hard foul.
Randy McCall, Bob Staff, and Rick Batzel, our veteran officiating crew. Now remember, Bibbins had a foul kind of like this on Shorts when Shorts was trying to call a timeout.
Well, there's a difference between a 5'8" guy fouling you that hard, at least physically, than Onyebalu.
That's true.
But again, you know, these teams are playing hard, and I think at the crux of this is you don't want to get carried away. You don't want somebody to get injured, especially a team that's advancing now. You don't want to lose your best player.
Rick Batzel will come over and tell us if it's a flagrant 1 or not. Flagrant 1, unnecessary contact. Okay, so flagrant 1, so Utah's going to get shots and they're going to get the basketball.
And we talked about that. That's the right call in that case. I think they said it was a hard foul and excessive. You can foul the other team to stop the clock and not have to do it excessively. And so, unfortunately, that's going to go against UC Davis, and that's pretty much.
Yeah, that might do it for them.
That might put them out of without a striking reach. We'll see. But you don't want to put Bibbins to the foul line because, as we mentioned, 86%. He doesn't miss very many, and he's made a living there for this Utah Ute squad.
Bibbins a perfect 7 for 7 in the basketball game. So he converts the 2 free throws.
Yeah, you mentioned, Steve, I didn't think about that. That history might go back.
Yeah.
And really, that's a good point.
Because Onyebalu is a senior, so they certainly saw each other for 3 years.
And there's a lot of pride there, so, you know, sometimes that happens.
Bibbins spent his first 3 years at Long Beach State University out of Bishop Montgomery, and played for a Bishop Montgomery team that won a state championship with 5 Division I players on the floor. Foul in the backcourt, including the 2 Johnsons up at Oregon State. So that roster had Bibbins, Steven Johnson as a junior. Then you had Thompson. Stephen Thompson, Ethan Thompson as a freshman. Christian Oshida, who's now playing at UC San Diego. And you also had Jordan Shackle, who's at SDSU.
That's very good company, but you're talking about Michael Onyebalu and Justin Bibbins, but they come from Carson, California, Inglewood, California. Not only have they played each other, maybe summer rounds, AAU, but in the same conference. So there's a little pride going there. Good timeout. You know, you want to just review. You don't want to get in an emotional game. If you're Utah, you don't want to stop the clock. Clock is your friend. It's not your enemy. If you're UC Davis, you have to talk about getting back in the game, maybe stopping the clock, but which guys, if there are any, you've got to foul. Where do you want to get your shots from? See if you can drive it and get some free throws. But it's an uphill battle. It's not undoable, but there's just not a lot of possessions left in this game, Steve.
Davis was up 11 with 3:29 to go in the second quarter. Larry Kraskowiak got thrown out of the basketball game like a Major League Baseball manager, just tempting the officials, and it fired up his Utah team.
I know one thing: he's going to get billed for the chair. I think that chair.
I think he'll be happy.
I think that chair is unusable, but he must have picked the chair he knew that he didn't mind losing. But sometimes as a coach, and I'm not advocating that you want to get thrown out, but I'm advocating that sometimes as a coach you want to get emotionally charged, get your troops charged, get your crowd charged, and I think that was accomplished.
That certainly sparked his team. Mooney drives the floater, no. Rawson the rebound and a quick foul. Good, fouling Rawson with 1:21 to go, so that'll mean 2 shots on the other end for Utah the rest of the way out.
Well, and we should talk about Jim Les, really, and what he's done this year. We mentioned earlier that he's missing his top scorer, has had to play this game with 2 of his best players in foul trouble, and he's overcome a lot just to get his team to win the conference, the Big West Conference, a tough league, and he's done a great job turning this program around. So taking his team into Utah to play, that's not an easy task. Ask anybody that's come here. Utah's enjoyed a lot of success at home, but Jim Les should be proud of his program, and he's going to have some really good players back a year from now.
Yeah, he has 8 newcomers on the roster. They should be very talented. A year from now, they're going to add a St. Mary's transfer, a St. Louis transfer. They're losing 3 seniors. Basket made by T.J. Shorts and a quick timeout by Jim Les.
Well, and Jim Les also, you know, I mentioned this earlier, from a basketball family. His brother, Tommy Les, was a legend basketball player where he played at Notre Dame Prep and coached there the last several years, just retired as one of their winningest coaches of all time. So basketball's in their family, and it's good to see these guys. I've known the family a long time. We've been treated really to seeing 2 good coaches today who have made it a habit to get their teams in postseason. I think you can't underestimate how hard it is to make postseason. I don't care if it's NCAA, NIT. That's a small list. You know, in football, half the teams go to a bowl. In basketball, that's not the case. You've got to really work to get to a postseason, and these 2 coaches have gotten their teams there.
His team lost to the eventual Big West Tournament champs, Cal State Fullerton, in the Big West semifinals, but they were the Big West regular season champs. Took down UC Irvine in double overtime on the final day of the regular season to win that title. They've been battle tested. They're going to finish the year with 9 true road wins, and they should end at 22-11 as we come up on the final minute of this NIT first round game. And for Utah, they're going to have a 20-win season for the 5th consecutive year, and they'll get another opportunity at home against LSU.
Well, that's saying something. That's quite a feat. No small feat.
And Bearfield is fouled.
You know, it's also a recruiting thing, Steve. In the off-season, it's important to be able to tell your recruits and their families that we play in the postseason. And I don't care, again, NCAA, NIT, it's important that your teams play in the postseason. That says something. And I think every player wants to go to a good university, but play in the postseason, that's their dream.
It'll be quite a rebuild for Larry Kraskowiak next year. As you look at his associate head coach, Tommy Connor, who took over. They're hot out on the recruiting trail. I know one of their coaches was out in Northern California looking at Bishop O'Dowd kids yesterday, from what I understand. And they're going to lose 4 seniors, including 3 starters, but they've got 4 guys signed at least, as Schneider bangs it off the window and another timeout.
Well, you mentioned Justin Bibbins, we mentioned him earlier. You don't just lose a Justin Bibbins and call it a day. That's a huge loss. Look what he's done for his team, not just tonight, but all year. But he's the engine. He gets his team going. He can take it to the basket. He finds people on the open floor, but he's also an extraordinary shooter. shooting a hair under 50 on the year from 3, and he makes very close to 90% of his free throws. What more can you do for your team? He's done it all, and he's a pest defensively. You know, he's a tough kid, and so they're going to have to really work to replace him. They're on some very good recruits going back, I think, to California, some players that I know and actually had an opportunity to coach this past year. They're on some really good players, so they're going to keep their program reloaded, and you know, it's a privilege. You play in the Pac-12. That's a great conference. And this has been a fun place to play. I mentioned 12,600, Steve, every game.
Their basketball here.
Well, bring a player and his family to this environment, and you're going to be able to recruit and sign a lot of players. This is a fun place to play.
Bibbins was an all Pac-12 first-team selection this year. Grad transfer from Long Beach State, and a former two-time all Big West selection. And he played for Long Beach State.
Now, they're going to miss David Collette, too. We didn't mention him, but he's had a great career here. But you know,
he might be in the NBA discussion, too. I can see him as a potential NBA draft pick, maybe in the second round.
Well, he's a really solid player. When he's playing injury-free, he's awfully good. You know, he's gone games when he hasn't missed a field goal. He's done it several times, and you don't do that if you can't play basketball. Unfortunately, he's battling back a little bit of an injury, but these days will pay off. He'll get some rest. Started out the game slow today, but made some big baskets when his team needed him. But this is an interesting squad, and they've proven themselves in a very tough Pac-12 conference.
You know, the other thing, too, you talk about recruiting on the high school level, but, you know, when you have Utah State, and I just was thinking of this because Collette's a Utah State transfer, you got BYU down the road, and Utah and Southern Utah and Utah Valley and Weber State. A lot of times, some of them, they poach from each other, too. I mean, look, you think about Kyle Davis almost ran the gamut. Remember the kid at BYU played at Southern Utah, at Utah State, and for BYU last year.
No, it's tough.
Played at Utah State.
And you remember you had BYU, and obviously I don't have to stir something up, but you had BYU and Utah that weren't playing each other. So does it get personal? Absolutely. It sure does. Very territorial, but I'm glad to see those teams play. And
yeah, they were back on this year.
Well, much like Colorado State, you know, there's some great rivalries in college basketball. I think coaches in the end, you know, want what's best for their programs. You want to keep those traditions going if you can, but if you can't, keep them going. So we'll see what happens. But this is it's a shame, you know, when your season ends, there's finality here, Stephen. What happens is when one team goes home, and that's the last time they're going to play college basketball. So it's an emotional close for a lot of teams.
Of course, Kyle Kuzma played here for Utah last year. He's having a great NBA season, and I think maybe the best player out of the state of Utah right now, Damian Lillard. I mean, that guy's been on fire in the NBA.
Well, he's had a great, and Mark Eaton in the house tonight.
Yeah.
We've had Mark Eaton who comes here. I've seen Jerry Sloan here, so this has been a great basketball venue, but these fans are on their feet.
Oh, there's Mark.
There's Mark. There he is, the legend.
We had Donovan Mitchell here and Royce O'Neal from the Jazz, who won 19-21. Van Dyke misses. Last chance for Davis here, down 10. And it's Henning going to probably jack up the final shot of this game. Steps back for an international three. Misses, and Utah will advance on to play LSU at home in the second round of the NIT. A big night again for Justin Bibbins with 21 points, 6 rebounds, and 2 assists.
Give Utah credit, Steve. They had all they can handle, but they're fortunate to advance. They had UC Davis, struggled early, but came back and played very good defense, and now they get the privilege of going on to play LSU at home.
And for UC Davis, they will end the season at 22-11, and were Big West Conference regular season champs. They had an 11-point lead that they let slip away in the first half. Credit Utah, and again, Utah's defense holding an opponent to 59 points. And Davis's defense holding an opponent to about where they wanted to, but they got in big-time foul trouble with the Shorts and A.J. John, that just didn't have enough in the tank.
No, they did, but it'll be exciting to watch these teams advance. This is a fun part of the year. You score watch at this point. You say, hey, who am I playing next? Now you can start talking. Now it's okay. Talk about who you're playing, where you're playing, and get your team ready.
So for my broadcast partner, Ben Braun, I'm Steve Quist, saying so long from Salt Lake City, Utah, with the final score, Utah 69, UC Davis 59. The Utes remain at home to take on LSU in round 2 of the NIT. This has been a presentation of the NIT on ESPN.